You've probably seen something like this in the news. Inflation is at all-time high. What has caused inflation to skyrocket in the wake of the pandemic? Inflation is a positive development. It's not a terrible thing. Although it's painful to see your hard-earned money lose its worth, this is an excellent motivator for individuals to spend. That's how economies flourish. When you pay $1, it turns into $1.50. It won't benefit anyone if you keep your money in the bank. Every time you spend $1 on a snack, the business gives $1 to its staff, who then use it to pay the rent. The landlord spends that dollar on a pair of clothes, then another couple of clothes, and so on until that $1 has extended. Hey guys, what's up? I'm Jules, and welcome to Investing Wise Academy. In this video, let's learn how to use inflation to our advantage and expand our wealth. Inflation is a concern with a higher than usual. Consumer prices have been growing at a rate of 5% to 6% each month, prompting the question, is this safe? Is hyperinflation on the horizon? Is the dollar value going to drop? For the most part, we don't know what will happen soon. Predictions can be made based on the information available to us at the time. More than one prediction may pass, only God knows which one will be correct. However, what occurs doesn't matter if you want to be on the winner's side. As inflation rises, you should not have a large amount of cash but rather invest in assets with a long-term intrinsic worth. So, here are some ways you can take advantage of inflation. First things first, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and then we'll get started. Number 1. Having money is a force that derives evil mindset. Debt has long viewed as the source of all evils, and there's a solid reason for this sentiment. Take a peek at number of people having difficulty making payments on their credit card debt. Every day, debt grows. As time goes on, it grows larger and larger. Sometimes, borrowers struggle to make ends meet because their debt has ballooned beyond their means. As a matter of fact, debt has become ingrained in our culture. You have to get a student loan to go to college. If you wish to purchase a car, you can acquire bank financing. And it's impossible to buy a property without a mortgage. The good news is that if you've read even a basic book on personal finance, you realize that there are good and bad debts to consider. Inflation is a great time to take advantage of good debt. Last year, when Federal Reserve dropped borrowing rates to zero, every company eligible for a loan did so, including well-funded firms like Apple and Microsoft. Number 2. Real estate. One of the world's oldest industries is real estate. It's probably as ancient as civilization since we've always needed a place to call home. Inflation drives up the cost of housing, but it isn't as dramatic as it has been previously. In the 1990s, a dollar was worth a lot more than it is today, yet the average house costs roughly $100,000. It's now close to $400,000. You wouldn't have lost a penny if you invested your real estate funds. The Fed has been creating money like there's no tomorrow since 2020, and huge inflation has resulted from the massive cash injection into the economy. The cost of living has skyrocketed. As a result, inflation has been substantially higher than the typical 2% during the past 2 years. However, property values increased by more than 20%. People who bought properties before the pandemic could benefit from this significant price increase. Number 3. Gold. Gold is the one item that will never lose its worth since it lasted through the ages. For most of human history, gold was the only asset that remained valuable and even gained value at times. People turn to gold when the future is uncertain. Take a look at gold prices, for example. People resort to gold in times of crisis, such as when the stock market crashes or when real estate values begin to fall, since gold value will remain stable no matter what occurs. Gold is a good investment during times of high inflation because the price of gold rises anytime the demand for a specific item increases. Sadly, gold prices began to stabilize and decline once the crisis has passed. With more foreseeable futures, individuals choose to invest in stocks and other assets rather than gold because there aren't many ways to use gold. Number 4. Stocks. Stocks are my preferred form of financial investment. They're simple, easy to invest in, and highly liquid, making them ideal for beginners. Actual companies with products or services and people who work on them may be found behind every share of company stock. The value of a well-run business will increase in lockstep with inflation, if not even more so. Since 2020, the S&P 500 has risen about 50%. This is partly because there was a great deal of inflation. Although inflation is now running at 4 or 5%, you're still winning since your assets value is increasing much faster. Number 5. Bonds. After only gold, government bonds are among the safest investment you can make. United States government bonds can only bankrupt if the United States go bankrupt, which is highly unlikely right now. A government bond is a loan from you to the federal government. In the end, the government needs money to run. Therefore, it takes loan from corporations, the Federal Reserve, and everyday citizens like you and me to fund the construction of schools, bridges, and infrastructures that raises the productivity of citizens, thereby increasing their income and ability to pay taxes. Keep in mind that the fact that government bonds pay relatively little interest, 30-year-old bonds currently yield 1.95%, barely covering the cost of living. Even so, it's an improvement over the current state of affairs. That's much better than the 0.5% interest you get from a bank. Number 6. Cryptocurrency. This industry is only beginning to take shape. Bitcoin, for example, is viewed as a virtual gold even though it is volatile. On April 20, 2020, the Federal Reserve said it would be there for everyone. As a result, the market quickly bounced again. After the Federal Reserve announced the stimulus package and that it would begin acquiring corporate bonds, no one wanted to keep cash. It wasn't enough for investors to rely on stocks, gold, and real estate alone. When crypto became famous in 2020 as a method to protect money from inflation, the demand was so great that the price surged. By the end of that year, the price of Bitcoin was expected to reach all-time high of 31,000. Owners of Bitcoin were jubilant and appeared as though a new bubble had formed, but the operative word here is seemed, because the price of Bitcoin did not plummet. After a few months, the price skyrocketed to more than $60,000 before crashed down to $30,000. That's not too awful at all. Number 7. ETFs. In terms of financial innovation, ETFs may be one of the most important of the last century. People would have invested in ETFs worldwide had they known what they were capable of. Whatever the firm, investing in individual stocks carries risk. A certain amount of risk is inherent in even enormously valuable corporation like Apple. Their stock's value fluctuates with the market. There are several historical examples of corporations that rose to global prominence just to be overtaken by the underdog within a few short years. Do you recall the days of Kodak? It once ruled the world, and Finland's GDP was at one stage nearly 3/4 of Nokia's revenue. Regardless of the firm, there is always a degree of risk involved. However, you may mitigate this risk by diversifying your investments. That's where exchange-traded funds or ETFs comes in. They invest in a wide range of businesses. Most people are familiar with the S&P 500, which is the most well-known. VTI, for example, is the name of the Vanguard S&P 500 Index Fund. Top 500 US corporations are its primary focus. Even though some of these firms may do poorly, most will outperform their peers in the long run. The most crucial thing to remember is that paper money loses value during inflation because it lacks intrinsic value. Real assets with real worth that can withstand the test of time are what you should be looking for. ETFs might be an excellent choice for you if you do not have a significant amount of money. However, if you're an experienced investor, it is more likely that you should explore other types of assets. And that's the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell button to get updated on our latest videos. Again, this is Jules, and don't forget to like this video and see you next time.